The DA wants Lennit Max to resign from the party, and the call follows Max's appointment as Police Minister Cele's advisor. DA Western Cape leader Bonginkosi Matikizela believes walking away from the DA is the most honourable thing to do for Max. But the former Western Cape top cop isn't fazed. He says he sees nothing wrong with an opposition party member serving in the ANC-led national government. Meanwhile, the ANC in the Western Cape will hold a media briefing to discuss the implications of Lennit Max's various accusations against the DA. Max resigned from his position as Western Cape member of the provincial legislature to take up a new job as advisor to Police Minister Cele. He claims that there are several events which have frustrated him out of his job. Max accuses the DA of neglecting its political responsibility in policing. He's also concerned about the rising crime levels in the Western Cape. Max, however, says he remains a member of the DA. I'm across live to the media briefing in the Western Cape.
Good morning to everybody. We have convened this press conference in the aftermath of the disturbing and shocking revelation by former MPL advocate Lennit Max in a media statement issued yesterday. Firstly, on behalf of the ANC, we welcome the appointment of Advocate Lennit Max as a special advisor to Minister Cele. We believe his appointment will bolster the ANC government's crime-fighting initiatives nationally and specifically in our province, which is the Western Cape. The statement by Advocate Lennit Max affirms our government's commitment for all South Africans to contribute to the spirit of Tumamina, Send Me. The appointment by Lennit Max also affirms the seriousness of the Minister Cele's interventions to bring the right expertise in key departments that have a dire bearing on the quality of life of all our people, especially the poor. But we have convened this press conference, ladies and gentlemen, to comment on the statements made by Advocate Lennit Max against the DA's government in the Western Cape and the leadership of the DA led by Musi Maimane. The statement by Lennit Max affirms our long-held belief that the DA has very little to offer in solving crime, but spent more time, efforts and resources in politicizing crime in the province than actually solving it. The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, in terms of Section 206, grants all provincial governments powers, responsibilities and mandates to give effects to effective crime prevention strategies that bolster the police and also affords communities to act in the role of force multiplier to complement police in operations against gangsterism, protecting our children and other violent crimes. If we look at the DA's track record on crime in the Western Cape over the past decades, since it assumed government and the premiership under Cele, all we have witnessed is a lesser government involvement in the fight against crime. The DA has continuously sung the song of politicizing and policing as a national competency, and that as a provincial government they cannot do anything to prevent crime. Cele and her cabinet believe their sole mandate in the fight against crime is oversight agents, nothing more. This approach was a far cry from our role in government as an ANC from 1999 to 2009 in the Western Cape. The ANC Western Cape provincial government took Section 202 and 6 to the limits of its constitutionality. We mobilized and funded communities across this province to back our police in all initiatives to fight crime. Our Bambanani campaign against crime project at their peak in 2005 employed over 8,000 community volunteers from the most poorest communities to complement our police. The volunteers worked day and night, and I can testify to that because I was a chair of a CPF in Kailicha by that time. The results were thousands of young volunteers patrolling schools, providing safe schools in the most vulnerable of communities during teaching hours and protecting school property after hours. Thousands of young volunteers on metro rail trains to provide safety for passengers in our trains. Thousands of young volunteers in rural communities to beef up rural safety plans for both farm owners and farm workers. But most importantly, we took the political policy decision in cooperation with the National Minister of Police to shift policy resources to the communities that needed it most. These are some of the groundbreaking crime prevention programs the ANC government in the Western Cape initiated under 2006 of the Constitution. In other more complex crime-fighting projects, the ANC started the High Flyers project, focusing in the Western Cape's top 200 criminal bosses, a project managed by the SAPS, SARS, and NPA. These interventions saw millions of rands of assets being attached, several forfeiture orders granted by our courts, and many kingpins on trial. What was the net result of this ANC intervention in terms of Section 206 on contact crime during festive season? In the 2003-2004, contact crime was reduced by 18%. In the 2004-2005, contact crime was reduced by 2%. In the 2005-2006, contact crime was reduced by 27%. These are some of the stats of our era in government. And in my era as a community activist and as a PFF chairperson. The principle of governance model was always where communities have a vested interest and partner with government, and successes are inevitable. Over the years, the DA dismantled all these initiatives, putting thousands of young volunteers on the streets without providing these communities with alternative crime combating strategies. The DA government has made sure that legally recognized structures like CPF, Community Policing Forum, are rendered irrelevant. Communities have been demobilized under the DA administration, and this has to bite them in series of public protests against their policies in the province. The latest Education Amendment Bill of the Western Cape is another example where the DA puts its personal vested interest above that of communities. The potential of selling alcohol at school under this bill is shameful, and the ANC will challenge this bill in court. In a province that suffers from alcohol-related crimes, Zele's DA proposes more alcohol, even at school. All the DA has continued to say is that fighting crime is a national government responsibility, and they have nothing to do as a government of the province. The consequences of their inaction destroy any notion that Section 206 was their responsibility. They abrogated their constitutional responsibility at the expense of the citizens of this province, causing a crisis of legitimacy of their leadership of the DA in this province under the premiership of Helen Cele. Here we have a former police commissioner with decades of police experience offering his help, almost pleading for his government to do something to fight crime. Their response is, our narrative of politicizing crime suits our agenda of fear and helplessness for the people of the Western Cape. This is our view, is a crime and indicative of Cele and her cabinet. To this end, the ANC in the Western Cape will be writing to the public protector, calling on her office to investigate the conduct of the Western Cape Provincial Cabinet, which we believe is in violation of Section 195, Basic Values and Principles Governing Public Administration of the Constitution, in failing to afford the citizen of this province the right to basic human safety and security as captured in Section 206 of the Constitution. The ANC will further mobilize its members across the province to agitate for Premier Cele and her cabinet to resign for failure to safeguard the people of the Western Cape. We call on all DA members holding public office to voice their disgust at the conduct of the Premier in the manner in which she has managed our province and its fight against crime. The people of the Western Cape deserve better than a Premier hell-bent of blaming everybody but herself, and who is intolerant to any opposition with her party and the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Acting Chair. What I'm going to do now is to give the rest of the panel just an opportunity to make a few remarks before I open the floor for questions.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, for reading out that statement. I think that the most important events of the last 24 hours is the confirmation of what we have always suspected as citizens of the Western Cape, that for the DA, crime was a staging ground to win votes, that the more insecure people feel, the more they could try and mobilize against the national government by being derelict in their provincial responsibilities. The one thing that I think we are thankful to Advocate Lennit Max for is that someone from the inner sanctum of the DA, someone eminently capable of fighting crime, was a commissioner, an MEC, and so forth, and a career policeman, that he has come out to say that the DA is not interested in fighting crime, gangsterism, violence, and drugs in the Western Cape. For someone of that caliber to say that it took him one meeting with Minister Cele, and the next follow-up is that the minister says, I need your expertise. And he was denied any role in crime fighting in the party to which he still belongs. He was denied any role in fighting crime is an indictment on that party's legitimacy to govern a province and a city that is racked by crime, violence, gangsterism, and drugs. That, I think, is the shock of the last 24 hours. We are not here to celebrate, as the ANC, the revelation, but we are here to know why crime stats, unlike what our chairperson has outlined, why crime stats have skyrocketed. How do you decide to spend millions on a commission investigating crime when you could have spent that millions putting thousands of Bambanani volunteers on the street? Who makes those kind of political choices and decisions, if not only a cynical government that exploits crime to keep people in thrall in the Western Cape? And then, to top it off, they don't respond to the substance of what Advocate Lennit Max says about them. What is their response? Their response is, you cannot be a member of a DA because you use the word stumamina, because those are ANC words. Their response is to do another Patricia de Lille, another witch hunt, another exercise in trying to eject members rather than respond to the substance. And that is why I'm very happy that our chairperson hasn't come here with a political rah-rah, but has come here with facts and figures about what the ANC achieved. We are not saying what we will do. We are saying, look at our track record and therefore now understand why we are in this situation. So I think that that really for us is the crux of what has happened over the last 24 hours.
Thank you, Comrade. All right.
We also brought with us, so that because we're talking about safety matters here, we brought the person who was leading Bambanani, Comrade Lennit Max. The reason that we brought him is because when we were dealing with crime in this province, we successfully reduced crime on a year basis. He was an MEC, and I must say with pride that I was one of his supporters from a community level. I was a chairperson of the Kailicha Community Policing Forum, and we were successful in reducing crime even in Kailicha.
Mr. Van is adding on emphasis on what has already been stated in the statement. I must say that to confirm Lennit Max, during that period, was a commissioner of police in the Western Cape, who, without hesitation, embraced the plan, and that plan not called Bambanani Against Crime. He was on the forefront in the basically implementing and mobilizing and rallying the police behind the program of Bambanani Against Crime, making sure that that partnership is actually cemented between the police and community in eradicating and reducing crime. The results speak for themselves. Even during that period when after that Helen Cele took over, we all know, it's a matter of public knowledge, that instead of supporting the existing program with the community policing forum at the center of it, supported by the neighborhood watches across the province, and of course those who were dealing with farm and school patrols, beach patrol, they created something different. They said, we don't want this. This is an ANC program. We're not inheriting it. We will create a parallel process. You would know, it's a matter of knowledge, or public knowledge, that they started creating what they call their own neighborhood watch, which was nothing else but a political army that was only there to go along with the Helen Cele or the plateau in Mitchell's Plain and those places, disregarding the kind of thing that is tested, that is basically evidence-based, that is able to reduce crime. So I want to say that in support of the chairperson, that we know Lennit Max was there in the forefront of this campaign, and this new role will basically going to bolster the ANC program in fighting crime and reducing crime. That's all I want to say.
Chair, if I may, I just want to remind the media that 2 years ago, the ANC in the Western Cape responded to the crime stats of the time, and we reiterated similar remarks as we've done here. And I'm more than willing to share it with you, but in the first line, we, for instance, said that the Western Cape is a more dangerous province since 2009, the recent crime stats revealed. And the second one was all contact and contact-related crimes except sexual offences increased annually at an alarming rate between the last 7 years, when this average annual increase is compared to the entire 10-year period. So this is what the chairperson then said. So I just thought that it would be good for us to remind journalists that we have said this, the chair has said it 2 years ago, and we have seen the trends, as he has alluded to, that the Western Cape has indeed become much more dangerous because of the lack of community participation in crime fighting.
Thank you, We'll take a few questions. So what you'll do, you just, your name, the media house, and then fire away. The floor is open. Are you all happy?
I'm Greg Eastman from Eyewitness News. My question is for the chairperson. During the last 4 years in the Western Cape legislature, has there been any interaction with the community safety portfolio with regards to crime fighting in the province? And what was the feedback with regards to working together to fight crime in the province? And then my second question is, were there any discussions with Advocate Lennit Max with regards to joining the ANC?
From the just to put into context, next year is the election for 2019, and the other people are saying that already. Of course, this is playing in your game. The fact that next now is accepting the position. How would you respond to that?
My name is Lukan from SABC. Also, what does the ANC make of the fact that it seems that the leader of the Democratic Alliance in the province wants to now to have Mr. Max's membership of the Democratic Alliance revoked? Just, I mean, what do you make of that, considering that at one point, I think it was Mr. Tony Leon, who had served as an ambassador to Argentina under the ANC government, I think there was another case, maybe in '94, with a gentleman called Mr. Peter Gastro, who had also, was, I think, in the exact same position as Mr. Max, where Minister Mufamadi had asked him to come and serve as a political advisor, but there was no talk of him having to rescind his membership of the party. What do you make of that as the ANC?
Okay, last one.
Pilar Nombele from the Sunday Times. Mr. Rasool, from your international exposure, I just want to find out, in terms of South Africa's maturing democracy, do you think will we ever move as South Africans beyond, say, consider someone for their expertise in a particular field rather than politicizing everything? Because what I see here is Mr. Max with Lennit Max with vast experience in the crime-fighting space. But why should everything be sort of politicized and you can find this unnecessary red tape around this?
Thank you. Well, when we started, if I can start responding to your question, when we started at the legislature, we consistently, because we all serving in different portfolio committees, and we know for a fact that Max was not a chair, especially during my period, in the portfolio committee of the safety, and he was at he has been chop and change to almost more than 4 now committees, and none of those committees were relevant to his expertise. And we know for a fact the reason why is because he's a sort of an independent and sort of a guy with a high self-esteem, an educated person who doesn't beg anyone, who is straightforward. And in the leadership of the current madam in the province, he definitely cannot enjoy any kind of comfort. That skill, that self-esteem, that confidence is not necessarily welcome when it comes to Madam Cele's approach. That's why he was never been given any chance to work comfortable in any of the position. He has been removed from one post to another. But in relation to crime, as an ANC, we have been consistently taking facts, not out of the blue, giving facts, telling them, because I had an experience in fighting crime struggles. I had an experience, I know who brought these CCTVs in Khayelitsha. I know who provided a lot of infrastructure in poor communities to deal with crime, streets and so on. But ever since DA took over, even when the DA brought a commission to investigate crime in Khayelitsha, there were recommendations that were made, including the street lights, including the opening of spaces in between communities so that patrols by police can take place, and a lot of things. Lightning, CCTV cameras and all that being operational and so on, including those that we put. In fact, the DA didn't put any CCTV cameras, despite that since 2009, there is a lot of communities that flooded Khayelitsha with no roads, with no lighting and so on. Those recommendations were specifically dealing with those things. But guess what? None of those recommendations has been implemented by the DA-led government. We raised those issues. Guess what? Inside C, a cop was found under a CCTV camera. And that's the reason is because that CCTV camera cannot provide us how that person was killed there, because it was not working, it was not operational. Those are the problem. Those CCTV cameras that we put when Comrade Lennit was an MEC are now just white elephants. They are not helping the community of Khayelitsha to identify even criminals, let alone who brought a cop there. Now, I'm saying, therefore, we have been providing those details to the DA, trying to work, because in portfolio committees, you are not there to contest each other politically. You raise issues according to your understanding and your knowledge about those better, and you become more of colleagues. You don't have DA, ANC in portfolio committees. We provide those facts in an attempt to try to assist them, to deal with those issues. Guess what? We've never been listening about that because we're in ANC, we're in opposition, and so on. In relation to Max joining the ANC, that's not our scope. We are not intending as an ANC to go behind windows, getting the house through windows, pulling people. We don't operate like that. If Advocate Max, in his own political consciousness, he decide to join ANC, we will celebrate. As we, as an ANC, any political party would like people to join us in big numbers. In fact, we will be worried if all of you were belonging to ANC, we will say, hooray, it's nice. That's our role. Our role is to mobilize society behind the African National Congress, irrespective of color, irrespective of background, and so on. We would like, because we are leading a national liberation movement, a mass movement. Therefore, we don't have a problem with that. We know that for a fact that our own people are working, our own ANC members are working in the DA-led provincial government, and they don't question that. Because they were there. They were there even when we came there as an ANC. They were members of the ANC there. In fact, they were members of the DA when we came, of National Party and DP when we came there. We are aware of that reality. Therefore, it's not for us to judge people according to their political background. When it comes to administration, we want people who are efficient to do the work. Therefore, Max is joining Minister Cele's ministry. To us, it's not a political issue. We are not here to comment about that. Here, we call this press conference based on the facts that he put on his statement. We are responding to that. We are not into mobilizing him here. We don't care whether he remain in the DA. By the way, he didn't say anything about removing his membership with DA. We are comfortable with that. We are comfortable even if he comes to us. We'll never chase him away. Playing in our game. No, you see, the reality of the situation, that's what people don't want to appreciate. And that's what we challenge DA about, is that as an ANC government, Lukai, yes, in the Western Cape, we are not biased towards our comrades. Where the DA beaten us in terms of service delivery, in terms of capacity to improve the quality of life of our people, we give them that particular credit. But in most of the department, in more than 80% departments, in human settlement, where our poor people are affected, in health, we have been saying to them, in terms of fact, these are how the ANC perform when we're in charge. We'd like the people of this province to judge us in terms of our service delivery record when we're in charge, in relationship with the DA's current leadership of the province. But unfortunately, or fortunately for us, not only in the issue on this crime issue, general, more than 80% of our departments have beaten DA with huge records. We don't need to. You can go factual. I'm not talking about the rhetoric and noise that is made by people who hate the ANC. But I'm talking, just go to the facts and look the houses that were built by Janchi when he was an MEC as compared to the houses that were built by Matigizela, at how much and how many houses were delivered. Matigizela has not even come closer to Janchi's record. And that's what we want to be judged. In terms of health, you just go to the hospitals and look at the standard of services that are provided by just go to Kailicha Hospital today, and you just go to the trauma, and you see what the mess that is happening there. Because I'm staying there, I've got families there. I've been staying there since it was established, Kailicha. I've got a lot of my family in this area, relatives and so on. I'm in that hospital almost every month because each and every family who come from a very poor background family, this is the only hospital that services them. You find a person you delivered there to the trauma not having a bed on the 4th, 5th day. They will only be surprised when they identify you as Kaya Makaka and start doing things. But leaving a massive of people...
And that's the ANC in the Western Cape holding a media briefing to discuss the implications of DA member Advocate Lennit Max's various accusations against his party. And ANC Western Cape ahead of elections, Ibrahim Rasool saying it's quite significant for Max to expose the Democratic Alliance for allegedly using crime to gain votes. And Max is the advisor to Police Minister Cele. He's accused the DA of neglecting its political responsibility in policing and curbing crime in the Western Cape. It's alleged the DA plays an oversight role in crime prevention attempts and is hampering government's programs to fight crime.